These are solo vibes and solo conversations and reflections of what's happening, what's taking place, and wherever you are, what is it that you are supposed to be able to know. And I want to welcome you in a good way, in a spectacular manner, in a way that it's so personal, impactful, and really value creating and value addition. That in life, it's always good to be able to view things in a different perspective, in a much more perspective that you can be able to understand, in spite of you having many voices that are taking place, in spite of you maybe undergoing some challenges and maybe cutting in through a shortcut of a person who can be able to give you an explanation or an explainer that most of the time and in most cases that explainer maybe has a shortcoming or has a problem. And that's why today I want us to dive into some few matters arising, most especially in the best territories of the Republic of Kenya. And mostly we dive our conversation based on economic impact, economic influence, and creation of value in our communities, and in the perspective of, is there any growth, or what is it that can be created by any action that can be motivated or can be influenced by another factor, another environment that contributes to show you that, look, there is a growth in economy, there's a growth indicator, or there's decline in growth of a given economy. An economy can grow either negatively or it can grow positively. So it is you to decide. And I'm donning a Black Stars jersey to remind you that I am an African, and being an African is always my business, and I'm happy to be an African, and forever I'll be. We are here to protect the interests of great people, great forefathers who fought vehemently and who fought so strong to ensure that, look, this person who cometh to invade us, we are supposed to send him away, and we can be able to be in a good position of maybe conversing, and moving forward. And on moving forward, you can see that we are having a second liberation of our people to free them. If you check on our episodes, that is episode number 1, we are able to see the impact of why an African person can never be set free if we are still in the same mindset, if we are still controlled by the very people who brought us the problem and who brought us the challenges. We have been able to analyze, like there's a time I was on Kalele Media Show, and we analyzed the impact of colonial masters on the unstable Haiti. And we highlighted a lot of history about Haiti, problems that were created back from, that is 1827, regained independence, innovated another time, given a fine to pay, and how the French built their French Tower based on resistance of invasion and destruction of their warships that were going to invade Haiti. And due to failure and destruction, they imposed a fine on Haiti, which the proceeds of that fine were used to build the French Tower, that all Africans, still in the same mindset, we go back and take our pictures at that place and tell people, look, I was in Paris, and that was so bad and discouraging. Either way, we live, we move. It's a reminder to an African child who comes in, who wishes, who is growing, that, look, you are an African, and your roots, your capacity, and let's say your assumption of being an African should not be imagined or should not be recreated to be able to undergo bleaching and what have you, to be a brown person. That one, it is an insult to our forefather who resisted a colonial master, who went to the forest to fight for your rights, who was murdered in a process of maybe converting or trying to make ends meet by ensuring that we enjoy the very fundamental freedom to be freed from that white person that you wish to become one of him today. that one is a story of another day. We will dive in and we will be able to deconstruct them downwards and be able to show you that, look, unless we change our mindset, because if the white person uses a black person to kill another black person who is having a vision of saying, let us put this Africa together, let us have a United States of Africa, that look, let us think without us having a box, and let's say these borders that have been created, they have been created by a white person to ensure that he keeps us in control. And if you want to know that is that dangerous, most of the time the countries that were left as larger countries, like look at the case of Sudan, instead of embracing their nature of being a big and large economy, large country, so that leveraging on their space and leveraging on their already available landmass, they can be able to convince another African country that, look, we can be able to be governed by one person, we can be able to be governed by a different perspective, that look, you don't need to divide this into smaller borders. So we have been instead of embracing it, we go ahead to ensure that we are demanding that, look, this country is too big, we don't like those brothers from this side, and we are all Africans. It does not make sense. And the person who uses that capacity and the person who uses that energy to undertake those assignments is still a white person funding an African person to undertake that assignment. I mean, look, I'm just trying to give you a view, a clumsy, a vision that Africa is self-destroyed and Africa is self-made. So if you want to help an African person, if you want to try and put together an African person, you cannot manage, because the mindset, the analogy, like the whatever is at the backside of this person is that, look, I am an African, yes, but I belong to this country. Once I find myself in a country, I say I belong to this tribe. Once you finish belonging to a given tribe, you say I belong to a different ethnic community. You finish ethnic balkanization, you move to I belong to a given clan or a sub-tribe. You move from a sub-tribe, you go to a clan. You move from a clan, you belong to a family. You reach to a family, you take a number in a family. That, look, I'm born number I'm the first child of this family. I'm number 5th of this family. I am a last born. That mentality, it is good to trace your roots, but being keen to detail to your root spoils the basic fundamental freedom that your forefather, who belonged to a case in example, let's say a forefather who belonged to Tanzania, that was Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, offering support to help a person who belonged to Frelimo in Mozambique, offering a hand of support for them to be able to fight for independence of the modern day Mozambique. He did not look, there is a border that is existing, and if I offer my help and these people pops up or they crop up, they are on our border, what if they gain this stability and maybe they become a problem, they become a challenge? Have we thought about it in that way? That, look, Kwame Nkrumah from Ghana convenes a meeting to establish an Organization of African Union, OAG, Organization of African Union, OAU. And he convenes that meeting in Addis Ababa surrounding the, let's say, the challenges and let's assume maybe because by that time Addis Ababa was not colonized and it offered a hand of helping, and it was that, let's say, encouraging for them to undertake that assignment. But look, these are people who are thinking without a border. These are great people who could see beyond a small mindset of this and this is my community. This and this. If I move away from this community, maybe I don't belong here. But the big question on the table is that as we try and reimagine our sense of belonging, have we looked at the thinking of this African person? Because I tend to see currently you can see people are dying in South Sudan and in Sudan because they are in a war. The war in Sudan, that is Northern Sudan, if you want to get it straight, that war has existed for now more than 3-4 years. People are fighting, people are dying. There is a genocide there. There is no media that is providing consequential, subjective, and a profound coverage that can be able to bring out the injustices, the genocide that is being committed there. But instead of us being drawn into such a conversation as Africans and how our forefathers mentored our nations, we have been drawn into a fighting between Gaza and the Israelites and the Palestinians and the genocide in Gaza. But we are not talking about a genocide being committed in Sudan. We are not talking about how many people are being killed here in Congo. It is imperative. It shows our level of hypocrisy. It shows our level of imagination and thinking. But we have not been found on a more conscientious, on a more like a fraction of a spirit left this generation once the independence was handed over to us. That look, we imagined Africa. We thought about Africa. We decided to have Africa. And we wanted to have a vibrant society of Africa. We wanted to make Africa. But have we lived to the spirit, the ethos, the values that our forefathers impacted in our hearts? And on this, I bring you to a person who is imagining to break the barrier, who is rising to make or break, who is imagining that, look, Africa has the capacity, that, look, there is power in imagining, attempting, and pushing forward relentlessly, focusedly. And he's trying to give us, if we are so keen to learn, and if we are so keen to follow, we can be able to see beyond the borders. A man from Nigeria, West Africa, a man who has changed the conversation that, look, people can fight. If people are fighting in the Middle East and oil cannot flow at the Strait of Hormuz, the problem and the challenges that comes with such a war, comes with such the immense and the cantankerous, unbreakable, impartial, unimagined problems that come with a war in the Middle East. The first people to be hit so hard will be an African world that is relentless and dependent on external forces. And why? Because Africa, combined, it is the largest producer of oil. And not only oil, but we are talking about crude oil. Crude oil, this is oil, unprocessed oil, that if it is processed, it cometh with several products from that crude oil, of which one of it is an energy that is used to push, drive, and move locomotives. In the case of generators, to power plants, to several African countries depend on diesel generators to be able to get their electricity. The same crude oil. After processed, it produces petroleum, which is used to push locomotives. Vehicles are moving, transportation, and what have you. Low scale vehicles taking people to work, and then matatus and all that. Motorcycles, locomotive transportation energy is powered by byproducts of crude oil. In that same crude oil, we are getting jet fuel, we are getting kerosene, we are getting byproduct that we are going to use to manufacture something called tar that is used to be able to bring about mixed with the concrete to construct roads, that is road network. We are having another product that is used to manufacture fertilizer from that same very crude oil. So the crude oil is a multi-billion business energy that drives each and every given economy. A rise of 1 shilling on the cost of raw or processed crude oil products, it's a puncture to more than 5 sectors of an economy, because you are going to kill transport. You're going to interfere with electricity cost, because electricity, part of it is produced from diesel generators. You're going to deal up low to a company that is manufacturing fertilizer. You're going to bring a problem to companies that are manufacturing soap and what have you. Those byproducts, they are coming from crude oil. And raising above the discouragement is a man from West Africa, Aliko Dakonde, who thinks who he is what he thinks he is. And he's bringing such an impeccable project, such an amazing, unimaginary, and I don't know, it is just something so amazing to imagine. Bringing up a 2.1 trillion crude oil refinery plant in Mombasa, Kilifi County. This project, do not be misled by any person who does not understand what it is, and who does not understand that, look, what does it bring on the table? We break this project down to be able to give you a clumsy view of what is the economic impact of construction of a 2.1 trillion oil refinery in Mombasa, Kenya. You construct, and in construction, you attract several sectors in a construction industry when you undertake such an assignment of doing construction. Construction industry draws together, that is, you're going to be able to throw a cement manufacturing plant that has to provide cement to facilitate construction of any site in any given place in any given part of this world. In that cement production, that means the normal cement manufactured and produced in any given company that wins a tender to provide cement to that manufacturing oil refinery plant that is supposed to be manufactured, it means you're going to upscale the production from the normal production. Upscaling means you will have higher consumption of electricity in that company, which will be paid to Kenya Power. You will have higher net profit declared in that company, which accrues to taxes paid from that company to the government of the day. And then you will need more labor. That means you will create employment to the company of cement. We have not gone to the oil refinery itself. The oil refinery is still under construction. Our job has been created already at the cement manufacturing plant that needs to upscale, because if a project is supposed to cost 2.1 trillion Kenya shillings, this means in terms of construction cannot be equated to less than 15% of the total cost. And if we take 15% of 2.1 trillion, this means at the construction level we are going to release more than 50 billion Kenya shillings. So if we are pumping in 50 billion Kenya shillings in the construction, out of the 50, 5% of that total amount of money has to go to cement because it is the main ingredient of construction. Then you move to the next skeleton of construction, which is steel. And as far as I'm concerned, such a project, such projects, they are really heavily dependent on steel. So if you are going to deal with steel, and steel is manufactured in Kenya, and I'm very sure this is a person who wants to grow an economy of the given country that you've come to do a construction. So same to the ripple effect created at the cement industry, you're going to also receive, that is more power being used, there is more employment being created because you're going to upscale your production. You will need more transportation because you will be moving those materials from the site, from where they have been prepared or where they have been manufactured to the site. You will create employment on site, leave alone operation. On site, you're going to create employment that is more than, you cannot employ less than 2,000 Kenyans. That is from masonry, electrician, that is architectures, civil engineers, quantity surveyors, and all those teams. So you're going to have about 2,000 to 3,500. You put them at 3,000, you pay these people at an end month flat rate. Let's say highest paid to be paid, let's say 350 as a quantity surveyor, engineer, what have you. Those are the top. Managers will go up to 700,000. Then you come get this lowest paid person who should not get at least 50,000 in a month. So you put it at a same level, you getting about 100,000 per head on average for 3,000 employees. This same money realizes an economic value in the given country, in the given economy. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Because if we are going to leave ourselves, because the reason why we are here and we want to explain this important segment of information is because we have seen Kenyans who are arguing that, public participation has not been undertaken the way it's supposed to be undertaken. We are moving to court to stop this process and what have you. But as you do that, we know you follow your constitution so well, and you are a constitutional activist who does not think well of what is the outcome, but you think too much of how you're going to be told you are the master of all. You've won every battle. You have conquered. But as you conquer, as you stop legitimate, well-informed, well-planned projects that are meant to help a given economy, to resuscitate an economy, you need to know that you will not exist forever. That is not important. Then if you want to know any given industry that has come up, has popped up in any given locality, it has always created, once a job is created, it finds a market. Once it finds a market, it finds a school, because people who are working there, they will want their kids to go to school. Once it finds a market, it will create businesses. A market is there, people will come there, they will want to sell their goods. You've left work that is around at 7. You will not tell us you will leave wherever you've gone to come so that you can be able to, let's say, go back home, go to the supermarket. If it's in Kilifi, you go to Kilifi town and it is not possible. So at that given place, you will create a school there, you will create a market, you will create a playing field there, and a complete 24/7 economy. Any market that operates a complete 24/7 economy it directly contributes to the GDP of any given country at a highest maximum rate. Whereas, if you want to know, look at a market that operates like that, like Chwele market or Karatina market. This is a market that contributes close to 2% of the GDP recouped from businesses that are undertaken on such markets. So if it operates that way, you create more markets that are going to operate in that manner. Leave alone the challenges. The challenges are there. And those challenges are the ones that introduces you to the market, introduces you to a growing economy. So it is something that moves way beyond the reasoning and the thinking that this thing, it will make the current president to succeed. We should not look at things as per the elections and as per who is the president and who will launch this project. Let us be people who can reimagine and rethink beyond the borders of politics. Like this man coming all the way from Nigeria, leaving South Africa, leaving Mozambique is on the coast, it has a port, leaving Egypt, it has one of it, leaving Somalia, leaving Djibouti, leaving Eritrea, leaving all these countries with ports. Namibia has one, South Africa has one, Equatorial Guinea has one, Ghana has one, a lot, Togo. But he says, look, East Africa is calling. And East Africa is well positioned, is a gateway to Africa. And the gateway to Africa is Kenya. And Kenya has laid down infrastructure plan that is well aligned to the vision of Aliko himself. If you go to Lamu Port, they have constructed one of the biggest ports that is not as busy as we expected it to be. So he wants to bring in life the Lapsset corridor construction of a road that is supposed to move from Lamu to Ethiopia to South Sudan. That Lapsset road needs to be given life. Once there is oil that has been manufactured from that place, even if there are pipes that have been constructed under the Lapsset corridor program, there are other goods and services that will flow in using road. So that means this is a person who wants to breathe in life into a program, into a plan that has existed for years. So we have to be considerate of how does it benefit me and how does it benefit you. And this and that. That's why we meet on the next episode as we break down the value chain of figures, the value chain of exactly the reality, the impact in figures to the economy of the Republic of Kenya, and what 2.1 trillion carries direct to the table. And even if it is income that will be earned, if it will be earned on the soil of the Republic of Kenya, what effect and what impact does it have to the economy of the Republic of Kenya? We catch up, we move, we create, we imagine. Let's have open, sober conversations that can be able to build direct focus on the point, not politics, not feelings, and not who is in charge, who is doing it, and where is he doing it. Let us interrogate it.